So in the Gumball, I think some of you are already aware of this, some of you may not. When I use my Gumball, the Gumball actually centers itself on an object, right? But what if then this object, I want to make that one side a little bit longer, but I want everything else to be the same. I can just rebuild the box to the new dimensions that I want, right? But otherwise, if I'm just too lazy to do that, I can just use my keyboard. On the bottom of my keyboard, bottom left, there's a shift button and a control button, right? Okay. If you press both of those together at the same time and you left click on the surface, then you will be selecting that surface. Okay. So I just pressed shift control and I left clicked. So I just selected that surface. Now I can expand this surface only and make it, if I wanted originally 5 feet longer or something, I'll just put 5 feet. And there it is, it became longer. I didn't have to rebuild the box. You can do the same thing on either end, right? So if I want to make it bigger this way, I'll have to click on the green arrow, am I correct? So if I want to go 5 feet bigger, is that correct? Do I press enter? It says 5 feet. Okay, if I click 5 feet now, I press enter, it's going to be 5 feet smaller, right? Because the number goes in the direction of the arrow. If I want it to go in the opposite direction of the arrow, then I'm going to sneak in a minus sign here. Minus means the opposite direction of that arrow. So there's other things you can do with the Gumball. What if I want to rotate the cube? I can just select that, and let me get rid of the ISO curves here real quick. All right. If I want to rotate this cube in plan, right, then I can use the blue arc, right? Because the blue arc has which axis? Has the blue axis. So I can just click on the blue arc and enter a figure. What if I want to rotate it 30 degrees? I don't know, let's say 60 degrees. Right? It just rotated it 60 degrees for me. Okay? And what if I want to rotate it in the other direction? Okay, so then I'm going to go minus, am I right? Let's say minus 80 degrees or something. Oops. All right, and what if I want to rotate it on its side, actually? You can do the same thing and look for the axis. Let's just actually get it back to be orthogonal. ISO curves. Okay, what I can do is, if I want to rotate it up that way, then I'm going to rotate it on the red hinge, right? So I'll just use that. And I'll say 90. Right? I just flipped it on its end. If I want to rotate it towards me, then I'm going to use the green axis as a hinge. So I'll click on the green arc and I'll say 90. And there we go. All right. So there's some good ways to manipulate this stuff. What you can do also is you can grab those grips and scale it in one direction, right? But, I mean, architects will probably never use this, right? You never really stretch something in both directions, hardly ever, right? And if you press shift while you're grabbing one of those grips, then it's multiplying all the dimensions. I just was pressing shift. So, what if I want to copy this, right? I can press copy in the command line, and I can copy it, right? There's another way to copy, and that is using the arrow. If you only click on the arrow and drag, and as you're dragging, if you tap the Alt key on the lower left side of your keyboard, you'll see how a little plus sign showed up. The plus sign means that you're adding, you're copying. Okay? plus, I just hit the Alt key. I got a plus sign, I'm copying. Alt key, plus sign, I'm copying. All right, so those are just some little tricks with the Gumball that might be useful for you guys. There's another sub-object selection, which is like we click the face, which is a sub-object selection. You can also pick a side, just a line, the edge of that cube, right? And if you want to expand that cube, you can drag it, and you see how it's kind of dragging everything else with it, which is kind of cool, right? You can make some crazy shapes like that. I'm just going to grab, again, my sub-object selection with my Shift Control, click on that line, right? See how I warped that surface? You can tell how it's warped. I just picked a point, and guess what? I'm just going to move the point inwards. Okay, I just did another crazy shape. So the Gumball is really, really useful with solid objects when you use the Shift Control key on the left lower part of your keyboard.